Hi there, welcome again to our YouTube channel. Today we are going to learn about how to write an IELTS writing task 1, specifically about the bar graph. In this video today we will learn about how to write a bar graph, what is the structure that we should follow. We'll do also an example here. We'll learn about all these things like structure, vocabulary, strategies that we need to follow to write a perfect bar graph. First of all, let's have a look at the bar graph that we are going to work on today. So this is the bar graph. We are given some information here. Now it's saying the bar chart below shows shares of expenditures for 5 major categories in the United States, Canada, United Kingdom, and Japan in the year of 2009. So some information is given to us related to the expenditure or the money spent on food, housing, transportation, healthcare, and clothing. So all these 5 categories, the amount spent on these 5 categories in these 4 countries. So this is the information, and the amount is given in the percentage form or proportion form, right? So there is no currency that is being given here. We just have to use the same value percentage. Okay. So just the first observation, we can see that the housing, which is this one here, most of the countries spent their highest budget in this category, right? And these 2 categories took the lowest amount. Okay. And if we talk specifically about a country, so for example, we can say Japan spent the lowest on transportation. So this is the transportation, and Japan spends the lowest. Or you can say Canada spends the highest. Okay. Or we can say United States spent lowest on food. So you can go specifically country-wise, okay? Or you can go category-wise like this one here. What we need to do is we need to be aware of such main features because those main features are required in our overall statement. Now, before we move on, let's first of all understand what is the structure of any IELTS writing task 1. So if you have a look here, this is the introduction that we have to do, okay? In the introduction, what we do is we paraphrase the question statement. So whatever the question statement is given to you. So for example, in this one, if you go back here, this is the question statement, right? So we are going to simply paraphrase this question statement. Now, what does paraphrase means? So we are going to write another statement which will exactly mean the same, but we will use the different words. Okay. For example, the bar chart below shows. So we can use illustrate, demonstrate, depict. Okay. So we are going to change the words as much as we can, okay, to paraphrase the statement. Now, going back to the structure again. So introduction is nothing but just a paraphrase of question statement. Overall statement, we also call it overview. Now, what happens in the overall is you try to mention at least 2 main features. Okay, main features can be about anything. Like, for example, if you go back here, this could be the main feature. This could be another main feature. This could be another main feature, right? So it can be anything. It has to be the general piece of information. We should never ever provide any detailed information in overall statement. Never give any detailed values, right? Just talk about what is increasing, what is decreasing, highest, what is lowest. These are the 4 things that we can follow, right, to write an overall statement without going any wrong. Now, going back to the structure again, in the first body and second body paragraph. So whatever the data is given to you, you divide that data into 2 parts. First half in the first body, second half in the second body, right? So introduction, overall statement, and 2 body paragraphs. This is the structure for any writing task 1. And the word count, minimum word count in IELTS writing task 1 is 150 words, right? But we don't really have to write just 150. Okay, I mean, the 160 to 190 is a good window to keep your word count into. Okay, so we'll try to write from 160 to 190. Now let's start writing this particular paragraph. So if you have a look here, so see, first of all, in introduction, we just paraphrase the question. So if you look at this one, and if you look at this one, this is the introduction. As we can see here, it is just the same meaning of the statement, right? But I have changed some words here. So this is a simple introduction. So you write the statement that exactly means the same, but we change some few words. Okay, now overall statement is simple. We just talk about what are the main features. So as we discussed before, housing is the biggest expense in all countries. This is the housing. Healthcare and clothing, the lowest one. Yes, that's correct. Japan spends the least on transportation. That's correct. So all of these are the main features. However, these are not the just only main features. I mean, there are a lot of different main features there. So it's up to you, whatever you want to write, you go that way. Okay. Example, another main feature could be that United States spends highest on healthcare. Okay, or United States spends highest on housing. Okay, or lowest on food, right? If you talk about Canada, it spends highest on transportation. So we can write in different forms. Okay, the main thing that you have to be careful is that you should write at least two main features, or you can even mention three sometimes. It's up to you, but two are the minimums. Okay, now let me show you an overall statement for this one here. Have a look at this, please. So they're saying overall housing accounted for the largest share of spending in all four countries, one main feature, whereas healthcare and clothing made up the smallest proportion, second main features. So we have done two main features here, right? Now, this is optional. I mean, you can write it or you can ignore it. It is also noticeable that Japan spent significantly less on transportation compared to the other nations. Perfect. So all these three main features, okay, are correct as per the example, as per the diagram. Okay, and we have not given any values here like 10, 20, 30%. So this is a perfect overall statement. Okay, moving on to the body paragraphs. Now, before we move on to the body paragraph, first thing that we have to do is we have to decide how we are going to divide the data. Now, for example, going back to the diagram here, so we have to make two body paragraphs, right? Now we have few options. We can divide maybe based on the categories, like first three categories in the first body and these two categories in the second body. This is one way, right? Another way could be dividing on the basis of countries, like first two countries in the first body, these two countries in the second body. There's no rule in IELTS that you should go this way or that way, but whatever the way that you feel comfortable, you have to go that way, okay? Now, moving on to the first body paragraph, if you have a look at this one, please. I'll give it 30 seconds to just quickly go through this, please. Now, as we can see here, we are mainly talking about housing and food. So we have talked about first two categories, and in the second body, we'll talk about these three categories. So let's have a look what we have done. In terms of housing, okay, this is the category. The United States recorded the highest figure at approximately 26%. Here you go. Approximately, why I've used approximately, because I'm not sure whether it's 26, 26.5, 25.5. It's slightly above 25, right? So I've just said approximately 26, followed by the United Kingdom at around 24. Now here, this is the United Kingdom. Again, I have to use something around approximately because it's not exactly 25. It's slightly below 25, and I'm not really sure about the value. So I'll just use this word to be on the safe side. Okay. Canada and Japan showed slightly lower, but relatively similar percentages. So Canada and Japan, they were lower, but similar percentages, as it is clear from the picture, right? So we are done with the housing. Moving on, by contrast, spending on food was the highest in Japan and the UK. So food, Japan, and UK, these two were the highest spenders, while the US had the lowest proportion on this category. So this is the lowest one. Okay. Now I did not mention about Canada, which is totally okay because the data is a lot here. So even if we ignore some pieces of information, that's totally okay. Okay. But be careful that you don't have to ignore complete category. Okay. Never ignore one complete category. You must talk about all the categories, all the countries. You can ignore some values in between. That's perfectly fine. Okay. Moving on to the second body. Now, in this one, we're going to talk about these three categories. So they're saying regarding the remaining three categories, transportation expenditure was the most significant in Canada at about 20%. This is the one, 20%. Now, this time I've not used the word approximately or around. Why? Because I'm sure about the value. It's 20% exact, right? And moving on, whereas Japan spent only around 10%. So here is a Japan is 10%, or we could have also said Japan spent half of the Canada. Okay, it's 20%, 10%, so half of the Canada, right? Meanwhile, healthcare and clothing remained minimal across all countries. So healthcare and clothing remain minimum. That's correct. Generally accounting for less than 10% of all total expenditure. So all of these countries spent less than 10% on healthcare and clothing. So this is a general observation that I've done, right? So as I said, we can ignore some information if we believe that the information is a lot and we cannot fit in, everything within 200 words. So I would recommend you not to go more than 200. So for example, the exam pattern says minimum word count should be 150. So even if you're writing around 180 to 190, that should be maximum. Don't go more than this, okay? Otherwise, it will just be a waste of time. And the more you write, the more the chance of making mistakes, okay? So we have to be careful of that as well. Now, I hope you've understood this, okay? Just to rewind, the first thing that we have to do is whenever you get a bar graph, try to understand what is being happening in this bar graph. Try to find the main features, okay? And the structure remains the introduction, overall statement, okay, first and second body paragraph. Now, as you know, in the introduction, we just have to paraphrase the question statement. Overall statement, we write at least two main features. That's a minimum one. You can write even three, okay? And the body paragraphs, we simply divide the whole data into two parts, first half in the first body, second half in the second body. Now, these are some common mistakes that most of the students do, while writing a bar graph. So first one is writing too many numbers. We should never write too many values. Remember I said here, let me go back here. So if I just keep writing that this is less than 15%, 15%, 21%, or 23%, no, we don't have to write too many numbers. What we can say is less than 25. Now, as I said before, we don't have to write too many numbers. Why? Because writing too many numbers will be considered as a repetition. We don't want to do it. So how we can replace the numbers with the words? Now, for example, here we can say United Kingdom spent just above or slightly above the quarter of the total budget on housing. Okay, and you can say whereas the remaining three countries maintained their budget from 20 to 25%, right? So we have just given a window from 20 to 25%, and that's it without writing too many numbers. Going to the next one, no comparisons. No, sometimes, students don't compare the data. Moving back to the diagram. So for example, if you just talk about that this is this percent, this. So if you talk about all of these numbers, okay, and if you don't compare in between, that's a bad strategy. We have to do comparisons. It is a data. So if we don't do comparison, it will never look interesting, right? Comparison is a part of this IELTS writing task one. So we must compare. And sometimes, students use the wrong tense. Now, what is the wrong tense? For example, if you look at here, the data is about the past, which is 2009, the year already passed on, right? So we cannot write that Canada will spend on housing 20%. No, it is something that has happened in the past. So we have to use the past form of verb here. Okay, so we need to be careful for the tenses. So a few things before we start writing the bar graph is that first of all, we have to be careful of the tenses. Okay. Second, we have to be careful of repetition of the words. So we don't have to repeat the words again and again. Number three, we need to do comparison here. Along with that, number four, we need to use connecting words. Okay, of course, we don't have to overdo it, But for example, I'll show you. If you go here, so this is the first one sentence, right? And then I started the next sentence. I used a connecting word, right? Connecting word here. Okay. And if you look at the second body paragraph as well, connecting word here, connecting word here. So, okay, so we have to try to use connecting words for better cohesion. So this was about the IELTS writing task 1. If you still have any problem or any questions, please feel free to drop me in the comment box below. I hope you have got the value out of this video. Please subscribe for our future videos. Thank you very much.